Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Oh, hi! If you're looking for another spooky and funny podcast to add to your rotation, check out Anything Bones, now part of the Podmoth Network.
Hey Boneheads, I'm Sophie Schwartz.
And I'm Caitlin Hart.
And we're the hosts of Anything Bones, the podcast where we talk about bones and bone-related topics.
Soph, what are bone-related topics?
Thank you for asking, Caitlin. This can be anything from mausoleums to murderers, famous skeletons to cadaver dogs.
Bone churches, mummies, serial killers. You'll hear about them all.
And sometimes we have guests stop by and tell us their favorite bony tales.
Check out Anything Bones on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or wherever your little heart desires.
We release new episodes every Saturday.
Bon voyage!
Hey, what's up, you guys?
Hey, what's up, you guys?
I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Hayley.
And we are Saturdays for the Ghouls.
Podmoth Podcast.
How are you, Hayley?
I'm doing alright. How are you?
I'm doing alright as well. I guess we can get started into it.
Yeah, I apologize in advance. It's going to be very all over the place, chaotic. Bear with me, please.
They're like, this is what I came for. The chaos is what I came for. Take it away.
4 bugs. But I'm bringing you guys 8 little blurbs of killers.
Blurbs of killers.
I don't know how to explain. Like little summaries of serial killers. Okay.
So if you had to title the episode, which someone might have to do in the next few days, what would your title be?
I'm not going to tell you.
Until maybe at the end you'll let
the
know?
end.
Okay.
All right. We're going to jump right into the chaotic information that I have. Ready?
I'm ready.
So number 1, we have the Servant Girl Annihilator, or the Midnight Assassin.
Same person?
They are a unidentified male serial killer, and their killing spree. What?
I think I have an idea. Nothing. I'll let you know if I was right later. When I find out the title of the episode.
What do you think it is?
Jack the Ripper. Murders assume that maybe are done by Jack the Ripper.
It's funny that you said that because this person is unidentified, and their crimes were spanning 1884 to 1885.
Mm-hmm.
They were axe murders. These murders happened 3 years before, like, Jack the Ripper murders.
Mm-hmm.
And when Jack the Ripper became a thing, they were like, oh, what if this is the same person? Never confirmed or denied, but
right.
This person is said to have murdered 7 women and 1 male, and has seriously injured 6 women and 2 men. The attacks were mainly indoors while they were sleeping, and they would be knocked out unconscious, dragged outside, and they were all killed outside and just left there, and some of them were mutilated, Jack the Ripper-esque, if you get my drift. And the only reason why they think that all of these murderers were connected is because they were all posed in a similar fashion, and sharp objects were inserted in their ears, which sounds horrible, honestly. Like I said, the person was unidentified, but from some eyewitness account, how much can they really have from the 1800s? But anyway, quote, according to a July article in 2000, the killer has been reported to have been white or dark complexioned or a yellow man So all of the above
Okay.
could
That
be
narrows
anyone.
it down to nobody.
It's like literally could be anybody. And is said to wear a lamp back to conceal his skin color, or another man wearing a Mother Hubbard style dress, or a man wearing a slouch hat. So literally could be anybody is what I got from this.
They really narrowed it down on that one. That was a good one. Getting zero identification on any.
I know. They did have one person that many years later, on July 15th, 2014 to be exact, PBS did a show called History Detectives. And in one of their episodes, they talked about the killings, and they used a combination of historical research and some psychological and geographic profiling. And they identified a possible suspect named Nathan Elgin. He was a 19-year-old African American cook, and his job was very close to the crime scenes. And he had a missing toe.
Okay.
Which apparently matched some footprint shapes.
Oh.
That they had found after the last murder. Apparently, in February of 1886, Elgin was shot and killed by police while he was attempting to assault a girl with a knife.
Ooh.
Which doesn't make it look good for him being this person, but
yeah.
It's 1886, so long time ago.
No one living back then is still alive in 2014 when they're doing this new whatever.
Exactly. Like, the best they can do is relatives. And it's not even 100% match. But that's all. I was trying to keep them short because obviously you can deep dive in this shit. But I have 8 of them. So I was going to do 10. And then I was like, let me just shorten it just a little bit. Because some of them feels like there's so much information in them.
Bite-sized true crime is really hard.
Yeah, it is. So our next person.
So wait, for that one, did they like truly think like Elgin was it, or is it still cold? Like they don't know.
It's still pretty cold.
So they just assume that maybe it could be Elgin.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Okay.
From what evidence that they have, he's definitely a good suspect.
Good contender. But so is Jack the Ripper.
All right. Number 2, we have Angel Maturino Recién Diaz.
Is that a name, or is that like a name of a serial killer?
It's his name. He was born August 1st, 1959, and he died June 2006. Angel is known as the Railroad Killer. Have you heard of the Railroad Killer? Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. The only thing when I did see that, it reminded me of that one true crime that you did where it was an older one and the guy was like, they don't know who he is, but he was like sneaking into people's houses and like killing them. But that was a long time ago. This is more recent. He has killed as many as 23 people across the US and Mexico during the 90s. And most of them were committed near railroads. Shocker. Wonder how they got that name. But he would use the train to travel. And on June 21st, 1999, he was actually on FBI's most wanted, like, top 10 fugitive. He was convicted of capital murder, and he was executed by lethal injection in 2006.
In what state? Do you know?
I do know.
I'm glad you asked.
Kathryn, the thing is, I was going to do it at the end, but all of these serial killers have one thing in common.
We could do it at the end. I don't know what the thing we have in common is. They killed him outside.
Right?
It can't be that it's like old-timey because 1800s and 1900s is way far apart.
True.
He can't be died on death row because first guy didn't. I can try to guess throughout the episode of what the similarities are.
Okay. You got this. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Just some like smaller things about him. Like I could obviously go into detail, but he would basically just go into random people's houses and just kill them. And then he would even stay in their house and eat and just chill, whatever.
And what state was he in?
I don't want to say.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. But a lot of them did occur in Mexico. I'll give you that one. Sorry.
I guess for some reason I filled in my brain that the last one was in like Britain because it was in the 1800s, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was in Britain.
Nope. All of these are in
So,
the U.S., but he would basically make himself at home. He would steal certain items from victims, and then he would give them as gifts to his sister and his mom and all that. When I did like my research on this guy, it's weird. So most of his victims he attacked, they were women. He did attack men and kill men too. But his motive for killing a lot of them were literally just because he got into like an argument with one. Like it was like a friend of his and they got into an argument and they would kill them. His motives, it seemed he claimed it was because they were homosexual or he felt like they were anti-Christian. So
he thought that the people that he killed were homosexuals or anti-Christian.
Okay. Yeah, so then he would kill them because
that's what Christ would do.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? And then most of his victims, if not all, they would find them like covered with blanket, like a blanket would be over them, and I'm like, is he like remorseful? I don't know. His brain's weird.
Oh, yeah, his brain is fucking weird.
Yeah, but I was like, why would you cover them up? Are you that remorseful about? He never assaulted any of them. Like, it wasn't like a sexual crime or anything. Like, but to bludgeon someone, he would bludgeon people with rocks.
Maybe he did feel guilty, but he's obviously fucked up in the head. You don't murder 23 people, eat in their house, and steal their shit and give it to your family if you're not fucked up a little. At least a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
That being said, we like to say on the podcast is that doesn't really excuse anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Whatever.
He did the murders in Mexico, but he lived in the United States.
Yeah, he would hop the border. There was a lot of years of him hopping the border. Like, he would do murders in Mexico and the U.S. and back and forth. But he was finally deported, like, or for the last time. And
was he from Mexico?
Yeah. His sister, Manuela, saw his face on the FBI like most wanted poster and feared, basically was like, oh my God.
That's my
yeah. And was like scared that he would kill again and contacted the police. And on July 12th, 1999, he was arrested.
Turned by your own sister.
All right. So our next person is a man named Carl Eugene Watt.
That sounds familiar.
He was born November 7th, 1953, and he died September 21st, 2007. He is also known as the Sunday Morning Slasher.
Sunday Morning Slasher.
Can you guess why?
Maybe because he slashes on Sunday mornings.
You're right. Most of his crimes were committed Sunday morning. He is said to have over 100 victims, and he died of prostate cancer. Unfortunately, a lot of his victims were women. So it's said that he confessed to 13, but then later on said, oh no, it was 40, but insinuated that there could be more than 80 actually. And then just over time, the police were like, I think it's over 100 actually.
Was he charged for anything? Just 15.
I think he was only charged for like the 13, because it only takes one to get you that life sentence.
Yeah.
If you think
But the
about it.
more that you get on your life sentence, the less of the chance of possibility of parole you get.
This is true. He basically just killed women, all ages, literally.
Anyone and everyone.
Yeah, a lot of teens, it looks like, and older ladies.
So
Yeah,
basically, like the weaker the better is what he felt. So teens and old ladies.
yeah. The motive, he said, of killing these ladies
Oh, yeah.
was, quote, he wanted to free their spirits because they had evil eyes. Now, I did read his the biography and stuff. When he was 8 years old, Carl and his sister contracted meningitis. And it's the 60s at this point. It basically almost killed him. And it ended up causing a little bit of brain damage. And he started having these, I want to say nightmares, but he said dreams. But he would have these like dreams of, or night terrors actually, of like women like attacking him. And he was like fighting for his life. And yeah, and then his parents even said that his personality changed like right after the whole meningitis thing. It definitely had something to do with it, I think.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's all I got for that one.
A lot of people die when they have meningitis, so it makes sense that could have caused brain damage. The other part of it, though, is the fact that in the 60s he was a kid, but when he was killing these people, he was an adult.
Yeah.
And there's probably something they could have done to help him eventually. Medications, something. Therapy. He didn't die until when?
2007.
There was definitely medicines in at least some of that time. Like, I'm just saying, I understand maybe not the 60s, but he just needed to ask for help, or someone needed to advocate for help for him.
Yeah.
Because again,
it's not an excuse.
Bad things happen, and it doesn't make you a murderer. Other people have bad things happen, and they're not murderers. But we don't kill people.
Well, that's distasteful.
That's not demure. That is not mindful. That is not cutesy.
Nope. That's not very girly pop of us. All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. My next one is a man named Charles Frederick Albright. He was born August 10th, 1933, and he died August 22nd, 2020. He is known as the Eyeball Killer, the Dallas Ripper, the Dallas Slasher.
Are these all people who lived in Texas?
They are the top 8 most notorious Texas serial killers.
Why would you do this to me? Why don't you stay in your own state? Notorious serial killers in Washington. Because it would have been Ted Bundy and Green River.
Yeah, I don't have time for that. Are each individual cases. Those are whole episodes.
It's because Washington is full of psychopaths.
It's the dreary weather over
It's the lack of vitamin D.
Yep. Yes, but they are all Texas serial killers. And the reason why I didn't do all 10 is because one of them was the Texarkana murders.
We did that one.
And I'm like, we already did that one. This one, I literally wrote Dallas in big bold letters.
It's funny. I had an idea when Angel was hopping the border. There was only California and Texas. But like then I was like, also Texas is so big. You can drive for hours and still be in the same state.
Anyway. All right. So we have Charles. And this is the eyeball killer, right?
Yeah. So did he gouge people's eyes out?
Yes. All right. So in total, this guy, he murdered 4 women, and they were all sex workers. And only 3 of them had their eyes removed. I don't know why not, but he was officially charged with, he was convicted for murdering Shirley Williams, and she was found in Dallas, Texas in March of 1991, and that's when they dubbed him the Eyeball Killer. And then he was eventually charged with 3 other women who he murdered, which were Rhonda Bull, Mary Lou Pratt, and Susan Peterson. And they were also found in Dallas, shocker, between 1988 and 1991. Now, the only reason that I can think that he would even do the eyeball thing is, from what I read, growing up as a kid, he had like a normal childhood, I would say, for the most part, and he really wanted to be a surgeon, but he
wasn't smart enough.
Yeah, it was that too, but I think he was also like, he assaulted someone, if I remember correctly. I didn't write it down, but he tried like 2 separate times and he flunked out of surgeon school. But when they did the autopsy on the women, they said that the eyeballs were like surgically beautifully removed, basically. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess he learned something.
So basically killed them because he wanted to like cadaver their body. How did he kill them?
I think he strangled them. Hold on.
Did he do any other medical procedures other than remove their eyeballs?
No. Okay. So Susan Peterson, she was shot 3 times. They were basically all beat up and shot, basically.
Weird.
Yeah. And I will stand corrected. The victim is Rhonda Bowie, or Rhonda Bowie, not Rhonda Bowl.
Okay.
It's Bowie. It looks like that was his first victim, and she was the only one that wasn't shot. She was stabbed over 20 times.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
See, look, that's what I get for trying to give like the guy a reason that's not too weird. Is like he wanted to be a surgeon. But no, he's like beating them up and like stabbing them, killing them.
But that's all I got on that one.
At least he's dead. Do we know if he got charged for all of them? Did he die by lethal injection or something? Or did he die by medical reasons in jail?
I'm just going to say probably old age. He was 87.
Was he charged, is what I was saying? Was he in prison when he died?
He was in prison.
Oh, that's good.
It looks like he was only charged for the murder of Shirley Williams, and the rest of the charges were dropped because of lack of evidence. But
that sucks.
It really does. Oh, okay. Next one is Dean Corll, and he was born December 24th, 1939, and he died August 8th, 1973. Now, this guy, I basically was like, this is a big one. I feel like it could be a whole episode on its own, honestly. But his alias, or he was also known as the Candyman and the Pie. He was called the Candyman because his family owned a candy shop. I believe it's in Houston, but they owned a family candy shop, and he would give out free candy to kids, specifically boys. This one's icky, but I'm not going to go into detail on everything because it definitely goes into detail on all the victims and what happened to them and all that. Yeah. But he was a serial killer and a sex offender, but he would kidnap, assault, torture, and murder teenage boys and young men. And all of they know of at least 28 bodies as of today. But the murders happened between 1970 and 1973 in Pasadena and Houston. He had 2 teenage accomplices. One was David Owen Brooks, and the other was Elmer Wayne Henley. And the murders are known as the Houston mass murders. And
I think those teenage boys that helped him were also not in a great place.
Yeah, they're not in a great place now either. So at the time, this was the worst case of serial murder because it was 25 plus victims, and that's the most anyone had seen at the time. It was the worst case until 1978, when it was surpassed by John Wayne Gacy. And he had admitted basically that He was highly influenced by the Houston mass murders due to the media coverage of it.
Way too fucking similar for it to have not been inspired by or encouraged, or the fans, like, that makes so much more sense that it would be. But also, yuck.
I know. I was reading like what happened and whatever, and I was like, this sounds exactly like Gacy.
The crazy thing is that nobody talks about this one, and everyone talks about John Wayne Gacy. Weird.
It's honestly like reading these, like it just seems worse than Gacy slightly. But yeah.
But like, he was Candyman. He would give people candy. John Wayne Gacy was a clown. There's too many similarities. Like, it's insane.
Anyway. But yeah, so one day, I don't know if this is also why he doesn't get talked about, but he was never tried. He was never put in jail for anything because his two teenage, just say like accomplices, one of them invited a girl over. As far as I know, it was just a friend. She was having a rough time at home. Dean Coral had brought a new victim over. Basically, he was going to torture him, kill him, all that. He saw that the girl was there and he starts yelling. An argument breaks out. Like, you ruined everything, blah, blah, blah. He was going to kill all three of them, or I guess all four.
Yeah.
And Henley, which seems to be like the main helper, he convinced Dean that he would help him finish off the rest of them and he'll be good, whatever. Dean was like, all right. He unties him and is, all right, you take care of the girl, I take care of the guy. And Henley goes up to the girl, which is his friend, and she's, are you really going to let him do this? And I don't know if that's something just clicked in him. There was a gun in the room because Henley grabbed it, pointed it at Dean, and he was like, this has to stop. I'm done. This has gone too far. And Dean was like, you're not going to do it. Shoot me then, blah, blah, blah. He ended up shooting him and he ended up killing him. And everyone got free that night. They all agreed, we're going to call the cops, tell them what happened, blah, blah, blah. They made like a plea deal and showed police where all the bodies were that they could remember. And that's how they know there's at least 28. But the boys ended up getting life. And then they tried to get parole, but then they got denied parole. So as far as I know, they're still alive, but they're in prison for life.
They were only teenagers in the 70s, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that those boys were probably also victims of Dean. They just were able to somehow play it off that they would help instead of hurt. And they did what they had to do to stay alive. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that what they did was okay, obviously. Right. But I believe that there's no part of me that you could convince me that Dean was not also
like manipulating them,
saying them, doing something to them as well.
That's the only thing that I felt bad for the boys, because they literally killed him. They did the right thing and went to the cops. They showed them where all the bodies were. Again, doesn't excuse them for what they did, but I would think that they would take into consideration that maybe they were forced to do this or
manipulated, or considering his demographic that he was interested in, they fall right into it. So there's no reason why you would assume that 28 wouldn't actually be 30 if you include them. They're just not murdered.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is why I said they're probably not in a great place, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that one's like a big chonker. That's a big case right there. Our next one, it is a short one. The next few, the last three are really short. But we have our first female.
Just kidding.
First and only female, actually. But we have Genene Ann Jones. She was born July 13th, 1950. She is still alive. She is a serial killer, and she is responsible for the death of more than 60 children and infants.
Oh my gosh. Children and infants?
Yeah.
Unusual for a woman serial killer.
Yeah. She was a nurse during the 70s and 80s. She would basically inject the children with digoxin, which was, from what I remember, it's a medicine that's supposed to help if you have like irregular heartbeat. It messes with your heart.
Yeah.
And the other one was heparin. I think that's how you say it. Heparin, maybe. And it was an anticoagulant, so blood thinner, you know. And the other thing, which I definitely am going to butcher because it's long and sciencey, but it's succinylcholine. And that's a medicine that it's almost like an anesthesia and it causes paralysis.
Okay.
But yeah, so unfortunately, the reason why we don't know the exact number of victims is because allegedly, quote, allegedly, the hospitals that she worked at lost the records.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah. But honestly, it looks like they only charged her for 2 murders.
Probably the ones they could prove.
Yeah. A 15-month-old and a 11-month-old. But basically, she's in there for life, and she will not be eligible for parole until she's 87 years old.
Oh my gosh.
She was born in 1950. I didn't even think about do the math.
In 2000, she would be 50, plus 25 is 75.
Oh, yeah.
She's 74, 75 right now. She can't be released until she's 87.
Yeah, that's the
little shorty.
This one's even shorter, I think, because it's an old one. But his name's kind of funny. So this next one is Joseph Douglas Ball, or Joe Ball. He was known as the Alligator Man, which is funny to me. But I wonder why.
That's pretty funny. But, like, how many alligators are in Texas? I would assume Alligator Man lived in Florida.
Yeah, true. He was born January 7th, 1896, and he died September 24th, 1930. But he was accused of killing 2 women, but no one really actually even knew that they were murdered. They were reported missing. They were barmaids. And as soon as the police went to question him, he pulled a gun on himself. He died in 1938.
So why'd they call him the Alligator Man? Did he feed these barmaids to alligators?
From what I remember reading is he owned on his land like an alligator pond or whatever, and he would charge people to come see the alligator. He would basically have the town come watch and pay to watch him feed to alligators.
Yuck.
Yeah. The cute animals. But yeah. But it's just a rumor that they were actually fed to alligators, but I wouldn't put it past it. That's a great way to get rid of a body. I do have good news. The alligators are donated to the San Antonio Zoo. Okay. I have one more. This one also makes me feel icky. Slightly. It's not as, like, in-depth.
But, hear me out. Out of the many serial killers that there could have been on this list, there was only 2 that were maybe sexual in nature. The other ones were all, like, I don't think any, the Candyman, and then whoever you're calling next. Right? There was no one else that it was sexual, right? So it was like, I don't know. 2 out of 8 is not as bad as it could have been, is what I'm saying.
That's true.
Considering what happens in Washington.
Yeah.
The killers do something sexual.
I get it. Washington is awful.
Just the Pacific Northwest.
Anyway. All right. My last one, Kathryn, is a man named...
You.
I know. Kenneth McDuff.
Sounds familiar.
He is also known as the Broomstick Killer.
Yuck.
Yeah. But he was born March 21st, and he died November 17th, 1998, from lethal injection. Why do you think he's called that?
Because he puts his victims on a broomstick.
That's what I thought it was.
Is it not?
It's not as invasive.
Does he fly around on a broomstick like a little witch?
No.
I'm becoming less interested.
I know. It's not as like cool as riding the broomstick. But to get to the answer, I have to tell you what he did.
Hold on. Let's just picture it. This guy riding on a broom comes up to your door. He's riding his little broomstick. And then he kills you.
No.
Don't be fooled by a guy riding a broomstick. He does not want to come in for some tea. Anyway, sorry.
But to give you that answer, I have to tell you what he did. All right. McDuff and an accomplice, they kidnapped and tortured 3 teenagers that were on a road trip from California. And they straight up just killed 2 of them. And then the third one, he assaulted. Because of course he did.
Yeah.
And with the broomstick comes in, he strangled her with it.
How?
Like from behind. He put it like this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Weird.
She was on the
That's
ground.
weird.
So he shot the other 2, killed them, and then
Strangled the other one.
Yeah.
Maybe he ran out of bullets, lost the gun in the fight or something. I don't know.
After they did that, they just disposed of the bodies and washed the car that they used. Because the 2 that got shot, they put them in a trunk and then just shot them through the trunk. Yeah, it is.
That's really weird.
But yeah, so they washed the car out, and then McDuff buried the gun at his accomplice's property.
Mm-hmm.
And basically all of this was done at the friend's property.
The accomplice?
Yeah, McDuff ends up getting sentenced, like 3 life sentences for the 3 murders. But he ends up avoiding the death penalty at that time. And then he was resentenced to life. Then he ended up getting paroled in 1989 because he basically, I don't know if it's like a retrial, but he did something to where, yeah, I think they did go to another trial, but he basically threw his accomplice under the bus and said that it was all him, which all the evidence is at his friend's house. So they basically were like, yeah, and then paroled him, also for good behavior, apparently. So he got let out in 1989, and then between October 1989 and March 1990, he raped and killed at least 6 women.
Imagine this. They tried him the first time. He wouldn't have been able to do that.
I was like, are you fucking serious? But yeah, but this time.
I feel like this is a bold thing to say. I feel like the states that let someone go and they become a repeat offender of the same thing should be sued by the families.
Oh, yeah.
Because if doctors do something wrong in like medical practice, they get sued for malpractice, right? Why would the government, because of the government, I know that's the answer, but like, why would the state not be sued by the families who lost someone after they could have been put away? Anyway, sorry. I digress.
I know, but stuff like that also makes me mad.
It makes me bad because it happens every single time. Somehow they find a loophole to get out. Anyway.
But unfortunately, it did take him murdering those poor women, but he ended up receiving he got caught, received a death sentence, and was executed in 1998.
Crazy.
And that is 8 infamous serial killers from Texas.
Did you do Texas Killers because of me?
Yeah.
Thanks. Now I just feel scared. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so for next week, Sometimes if you do a true crime, I try not to do a true crime the next time. But I have a true crime paired already. So would you like to pick? Do you want a true crime, haunted location, or other spooky thing? And other spooky thing's gonna probably be along the lines of scary deep sea creatures like that.
Haunted location.
You want a haunted location? Or spooky location?
Yeah.
Or creepy location?
We haven't done one of those in a bit.
We did the 2 hotels, the haunted hotels last, so a month ago.
Okay.
I think I have something I think we could do that's not technically a haunted location, so it won't be too much like the other ones. And it won't be like the last one I did, which is scary bugs and spiders. Thank you, Hayley, for coming and talking and doing stuff.
Did you like it? Was it chaotic?
It wasn't too chaotic.
Oh, good.
And it was nice little bite-sized true crime, which again, I know how hard that is. Because it's hard not to go into like detail of what each person did. Because you want to, I don't know, for some reason when I'm doing like a true crime, I want to be like, this person was a bad person and here's all the reasons why. But like
Yeah.
in bite-sized true crimes, you can't always like
Do that.
make that argument every single time. You can just tell them like what they actually tried to do or did. Did you have anything to tell Spooky Babes before we let them go?
Spooky Babes, hope you're enjoying the rest of the summer. Summer is coming to an end and it's going to be fall and spooky season, and I'm so excited. But I hope you enjoyed this little ditty of an episode that I did. Little Kathryn-esque inspired.
I feel like every time you do true crime, you're like, it's Kathryn inspired.
You're the true crime queen.
It's because we spent 2 years of me being the only true crimer.
True. And then me doing my research, and I'm like, man, I always do true crime now. It's the one that I find most interesting and like easy to do research for. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day, week, month, year, whichever. Yeah. And stay spooky. Back to you, Kathryn.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we appreciate you coming here and hanging out with us this week. If you enjoyed our podcast, if you could rate us 5 stars wherever you can rate our podcast or wherever you listen to our podcast. And we would truly and really appreciate that. If you can always leave a comment too, we'd love reading them. And you can always follow us on Instagram, Saturdays for the Ghouls, for any kind of sneak peeks and other things. We appreciate you guys so much. And we hope you have a great day and week and whatever. And just remember that you matter and there's more than what you're struggling with right now for you in your future. So don't give up. And we will see you
in Texas. Nah.
Yeehaw!
In your nightmares.
Booyah!
Yeehaw.